It's episode 652 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm talking about a frustrating loss in Houston and a positive development on the Rangers prospect front. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On to Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. It is Wednesday, August 10th. Your Rangers are 48-61, third place in the American League West. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment any single thing below. We're going to get into the Rangers' very frustrating 5-7 loss to the Astros in the opener of this series in Houston, and some Josh Jung developments that are very, very positive. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile anniversary sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Now, let's get into this game, which started on a really positive note for the Rangers. They ended up going up 4-0 in the top of the 4th inning. Started off the game with a leadoff dinger from Marcus Semien on the 4th pitch of the game. Went up 3-0 on the Astros starter, Jose Urquidy, who has been mostly pretty solid this season. And every single Astros pitcher has been dominant. And starting pitcher-wise, I should say, has been just straight up dominant against the Rangers this season. But Texas was really able to get to him in this one. They had the Marcus Semien 16th dinger of the season. They had a Corey Seeger 25th home run of the season. Semien started off the game really hot with a home run and a walk in this one and was able to score twice in it. And Corey Seager had a multi-hit game and a really, really impressive outing overall on the day. But the rest of the Rangers offense wasn't able to do all that much against him. A couple of hits by Bubba Thompson, but the Rangers were able to get to him for 4 runs. The 4th run came off of the first RBI of Bubba Thompson's major league career. Went the other way through the right side of the infield, just past Jose Altuve to get his first RBI of the season. Later on in the show, we're going to talk about how he should have gotten his second RBI if not for some thievery by Astros fans and, of course, by the freaking umpires. A really, really frustrating 9th inning for this one. But it looked like this one, not that you can have an easy open and shut slam dunk win against the Astros, especially not in Houston, especially not for this Rangers team that has really done poorly against the Astros, especially in Houston for the last 3, 4, 17 seasons. But the Rangers were up 4-0 with their best pitcher on the mound, who was perfect through 3 innings, and you thought, okay, this one seemed pretty much in hand, but that is not at all the case. The Rangers had that 4-run lead, and it all evaporated on one swing by Aledmus Diaz. He hit a grand slam off of Martin Perez. Just a really, really frustrating day. It all started with a Jose Altuve single, and of course it did. Of course, Jose Altuve is the one that started the rally that ended up in a grand slam, but the pitch wasn't that bad by Martin Perez. It was a changeup. It was dotted on the low outside corner against the right-handed hitter that was moving glove side. It was the second time he threw a changeup, though, and that was the mistake. He threw a changeup on the first pitch to Aledmus Diaz and got a strike, and then the second pitch, he recognized that changeup, and even though it was in a great, great location, Heim was set up a little bit more low and away, a little bit lower and a little bit more off the plate, not in the strike zone. The pitch ended up being just right around the strike zone, but it was enough to get got and absolutely trounced. And it was pretty much in the exact same location as the first one. Aledmus Diaz hit the absolute crap out of it and gave the Astros a tie game in that 4th inning after a couple of rallies and a intentional walk that backfired. I believe it was Kyle Tucker was the intentional walk. Alex Bregman was the one who drew a walk. And even Yordan Alvarez, he was able to get him out in that inning, but it didn't matter because this Astros lineup is so frustratingly deep that even if you're getting the guys who are at the top of it making things happen, Yordan Alvarez with a 1,033 OPS to this point this season went 0 for 4 with one strikeout, and the Astros were still able to get to the Rangers for 4 runs in that 4th inning. They were able to get 2 runs off of Martin Perez in the 5th inning. And then the Astros were able to get 1 run out of him in the 6th inning and chase him from the game. Jose Leclerc worked really well in a pair of outings of relief, perfect in 2 outings of relief, got a strikeout in that. Brett Martin came in, worked 1 outing of relief, 1 inning of relief, I should say. Well, it was 1 outing too, but still. And he was fairly solid in this one, keeping the Rangers in it, but you really don't expect Martin Perez to be battered around very much at all, let alone against the Astros, who he just dominated. I believe it was the last time that he pitched against them. At least the last time he pitched against them in Houston was when he threw that complete game shutout. Let me look and double check. But yeah, that was the last time he faced Houston. It was on May 20th. He threw the complete game shutout, was absolutely electric in that one, got 5 strikeouts and only walked 1. This was not the same for him. He had 3 walks, and 2 of those at least one of those came back to bite him in that 4th inning rally. And I think that's the most frustrating part, is that you have Martin Perez on the mound. John Gray is the only other starter the Rangers could consistently win behind, and he is on the IL, but you have Martin Perez going. You have a 4-run lead. It's just the last thing that you would expect is for the Rangers to blow that lead. But they even got the lead back for him in the 5th inning. After that just debilitating grand slam, Adolis Garcia crushes a ball into those Crawford boxes and gives the Rangers a 5-4 lead. But again, that was his mistake of not willing a runner to be on in front of him, and it only being a solo shot. But it made it a 1-run game, and it should have been a 1-run game again in the 9th inning after a double that should have been a home run. The first time should have been a home run after review. We'll get into that in just a second. And another issue with the umpires and some more frustration with this game. And a little bit of a look at the third base quandary for the long term for this Texas Rangers squad. But first, this episode is brought to you by Liver Health Formula. Did you know the key to sustainable weight loss is through your liver? That's right. The liver is the body's metabolic furnace. It's responsible for flushing out harmful toxins and igniting your fat-burning metabolism. Thanks to modern diets rich in unhealthy processed foods and constant exposure to thousands of man-made environmental toxins, most of us have overworked livers. Thanks to Liver Health by Pure Research, this is a great Pure Health Research. Liver Health Formula contains 8 liver-boosting super nutrients like turmeric, beet, and artichoke extract, all of which work to wake up your sluggish liver and turn it into a toxin-flushing, fat-burning machine. No more bloaty belly, no more uncomfortable digestion, and best of all, Liver Health Formula makes it easier to maintain healthy body weight long-term. As a listener of our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit is a safe, all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes it the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that's getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Go to getliverhelp.com/MLB now to get started. Now, this was a frustrating game for many reasons, but I think the most pissed I was about it was when it changed which should have been a beautiful first for Bubba Thompson. There was a couple of pretty big umpire errors. One ended up being not as big as I thought, and not really an error, just a error in the way it was presented. And I believe it was the 5th inning, maybe it was the 6th inning, but it was Kyle Tucker who reached base and advanced on what looked like he advanced on a foul ball and was just allowed to do so. And the broadcast thought the same thing I did, and Levi Weaver in the press box thought the exact same thing I did, is that Kyle Tucker was just allowed to advance on a foul ball, went there, and no one said anything. And he was just allowed to stay there, and you couldn't do anything with it at that point. Dave Raymond mentioned it on the broadcast as well, and I thought, what in the heck? The Astros just flagrantly cheating at this point and getting away with it. What is this nonsense? Not that we've ever seen the Astros flagrantly cheat before. No. Perfectly upstanding organization that has, be not unscrupulous, very scrupulous, moral, whatever the one that, you know what I'm doing. The bit is very obvious, but it turns out there was a balk called that nobody noticed in the press box or on the broadcast or really pretty much anywhere else until much later on in the game, or later on in the inning at least. And I was like, oh, okay, you could have at least like made a note of that for the rest of us umpires. Make it obvious if you're going to call a balk. Don't just make it look like the guy advanced on a foul ball and you were too stupid and too zoned out to pay attention to him stealing a free base on an illegal play. But I digress. What was really the criminal act was Bubba Thompson hit his first career big league home run. He hit the ball over the fence in fair territory, and he should have been rounding the bases. But no. An Astros fan ruined something. Wow. I bet that's the first time you ever heard that. No, an Astros fan, which in this case, looking back at replay a couple of times, it wasn't as much his fault as I thought as it was initially, which is really saying something because I would very much look for any reason to blame an Astros fan for anything, even in a game they're not a part of, even a game they're not watching. But this wasn't that much his fault. Yes, he reached over. The ball was hit into left field on an 0-2 count, by the way. An 0-2 count against one of the better closers in baseball. Bubba Thompson got his first Major League home run, which was robbed by a fan, and also Major League Baseball, the umpires who are reviewing decisions in New Jersey, New York, wherever the heck it is, Secaucus or New York City, or wherever the heck the office is that looks at these replays, completely monumentally screwed up and robbed a kid of his first Major League home run. The fan reached over a little bit in left field and hit the ball that was clearly over the yellow line and would have been landed in those seats and been a home run. But because he reached his arm out, and this was an away stadium, by the way, an Astros fan, I don't know if that plays a part in how the decisions are made and what gets constituted as fan interference or not, but I kind of think it should be. I really do. It should play a factor if someone's trying to interfere with the play and they are breaking up a opposing fielder, an away fielder trying to get a foul ball in foul territory, and they reach out and interfere with it or interfere with the ball or with the fielder. I think that should be penalized more than if someone, I don't know. I don't know how you could legislate intent there. But basically the point is the ball went back into the field of play because he reached out his hand to try and catch it and hit it. But the ball was clearly going over the fence. I don't know what constitutes a home run anymore. They looked at it, they challenged it, they reviewed it, and they thought, you know what? Even though that was obviously going to be a home run, whether the fan did anything or not, we're just going to keep that as fan interference and rob this kid of his first Major League home run, which was absolutely deserved. Who knows how long Bubba Thompson, who knows how long anybody has in the major leagues, especially a guy who is probably going to be a fourth outfielder for a while and not, I don't know, he might end up being a starting outfielder every day. His defense is extremely valuable. He's got a lot of raw pop, and I'm sure he'll get another Major League home run, but it's entirely possible that he doesn't. This could have been this kid's only Major League home run. It definitely should have been his first and a big moment in the game that would have made it a one-run game. But no, he was robbed of that. He was absolutely robbed of that by the fan, by Major League Baseball, by the umpires on the field, and the umpires in the review booth in whatever upstate place they happen to be in the tri-state area. It's not right. And I don't know why they couldn't get that right. It is such an obvious call. It is inexcusable. And the thing that frustrates me the most about these umpiring decisions is that no matter what they do, no matter how badly they screw up, I've seen more pitches down the middle of the strike zone that have been called balls this year than I have in my entire life. And there's so many of these different Twitter accounts that are grading umpires on their balls and strike accuracy and all kinds of other different accuracy. And the whole point of replay being instituted is so they could get the call right. I know that there's human error there. I know that umpires are not perfect. But the thing that pisses me off the most about umpiring mess-ups is that there's literally never any repercussions. There's nothing you can do. They could completely screw up a pitch. You could throw it 18 miles outside and they call it strike three, and there's nothing you can do. There's no recourse for action. All you can do is have your manager or player yell at the umpire until they're kicked out and then hope that they'll give you a makeup call later on in the game. It pisses me off. That's why I want robot umpires, so that it's at least consistent. With umpires who are inconsistent, if they have a bigger strike zone than what the strike zone is, and it's consistent, okay, you can live with that. But the thing that screws up the game the most is when umpires are inconsistent in their zone, in their calls. The thing that pisses me off is that when a rookie throws the exact same pitch as a guy who's been in the big leagues for 5 or 10 years, it's called differently. It should not be called differently. A strike should be a strike. A ball should be a ball. A ball hit over the fence in fair territory should be a home run, no matter what, especially when it's the kid's first home run. Now, Bubba Thompson was also showing off his speed in this game. The Rangers, in general, were showing off their speed in this game. Jose Urquidy, who's done a really, really great job this year of just being so good and so quick to the plate and working so quickly that opposing base runners don't even really try on him. And he's only allowed, I think, 6 attempts this year. They were talking about it on the radio broadcast as I was driving home from work. And the Rangers got to him twice. Bubba Thompson had his third stolen base of the season, and so did Joshua H. Smith. Both of those guys are some really speedy base runners, but the Rangers really squandered their opportunities with runners in scoring position. 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position, and that was part of why the Rangers lost this game. I do want to give a big shout out to Corey Seeger, who's been putting together some really, really good at-bats since the start of July, but especially in this one. At the end of the game, he got that just monumental 25th home run of the season. By the way, he's only 1 shy of tying his career high, which he set as a rookie, and hasn't quite gotten back to those levels of dingerism. But he had a 9-pitch at-bat to end the game with a runner on third base. If he had done what he did in his second plate appearance and hit the ball over the fence, he would have tied the game. Now, would the Rangers bullpen have blown it? Maybe, but still a furious, feisty at-bat. And the 9th pitch of the game, the final pitch of the game, was a fastball, 95.9 miles an hour, right there on the corner, half on, half off. A really tough pitch to take, especially with some of the pitches that he fouled off, but it was a furious at-bat, and the Rangers did not go down. Well, they kind of went down swinging while also going down by taking a pitch. But frustrating game. Maybe the Rangers can take 1 in Houston. Hopefully they can take 2. Just don't get swept. Please don't get swept. That is all I'm asking for this Houston series. Coming up, we're going to look at some positive developments from Josh Jung, who is back in AAA. How long will he stay there? And what is his chance at winning the third base job, his pros and cons, along with the other 3 main young Rangers candidates to hold down that third base job for the foreseeable future. But first, this episode is brought to you by Blue Nile. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring. Each ring is one of a kind. If you're looking for fine jewelry but having trouble choosing, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every single budget. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Now, Josh Jung is back in affiliated ball. He is back in AAA against Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City was his first game in affiliated ball this season. He had a rough time getting back. He's had a rough couple of years, but when he has been on the field, he has been absolutely fantastic. Last night against Oklahoma City, the Dodgers AAA affiliate, he went 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer and a pair of walks. That was against Dustin May, who was starting and rehabbing. Smith, I believe, went 0 for 2, maybe 0 for 1 with a strikeout, and worked the 1 walk that Dustin May gave up the entire game. And that 3-run bomb was also off another former big leaguer who is rehabbing, Dellin Betances. A massive shot for him. He's got home runs in his last 3 straight games. He has been on fire. And you know what? I think it's about time to call him up to the big leagues. I heard some chatter talking to a few people in Frisco when I was there on Friday, about Josh Jung, what the plan is for him, when he's going to make his major league debut. And the rumblings that I heard are that because of his hard work, his dedicated work last year in rehabbing from the foot injury, and his hard work this year, and whatever good injury luck, I guess, mainly just the hard work and him staying at it and not getting discouraged, he is going to get a major league cup of coffee at some point this season, which I believe these credible rumblings, and I believe you should too. And I am more than ready for him to make his major league debut. It was going to happen this season. It was going to happen at the beginning of the season, if not for an injury. Last year, it probably should have happened last year. I thought he would make it up at some point in 2021, but he had a stress fracture in his left foot. His first game of the season wasn't until June 15th last year. But in those games, once he came up, he was absolutely dominant in AA and AAA. Absolutely annihilated every concern everyone had about him. Oh, is he going to be able to hit for power? Everyone knew the advanced approach, the great walk rate, the bat to ball skills, the ability to barrel so many pitches. That was very obvious. That was one of his biggest plus by far coming out of the draft, is that he was had such an advanced approach. But because I don't know why. Because you look at his college numbers, he had 15 home runs his final year at Texas Tech. He also had 23 doubles that year. He had 12 home runs the year before and 17 doubles. He slugged over .635 both his sophomore and junior year, and won Big 12 Play of the Year his final year at Texas Tech. And I don't know where those concerns about power were coming from. He was hitting the ball to all fields, and he wasn't even selling out for power in those years. 15 home runs from a college player in 64 games. That's solid numbers. That's solid numbers for a 21-year-old, especially a guy who's not trying to hit for power. He's trying to hit the ball to all fields. He hit .392 with an on-base of .491 as a sophomore. A little bit less impressive the next year, hit .343 and an on-base of .474, but that's still an on-base of .474. The guy was absolutely electric at Texas Tech. I saw him at Tech as a freshman, thought that guy's going to be a big leaguer one day. Turns out I was right. Thank you, Josh, for making me look smart. But the guy is wired differently, absolutely obsessed with baseball. And I really do think that he is going to make his big league debut and hold down that third base job. But this is what he's done so far this year. Initially, when that the torn labrum in his left shoulder, he was weightlifting during going into right when he got there at minor league camp before the big leaguers were ready. I believe it was still during the lockout, and we thought, okay, he's there. He can at least get some work in because he was on the 40-man but hadn't made his major league debut, so the lockout didn't really affect him. He could still go out there and train, and that was to his detriment because he got injured lifting weights there. Not saying that he shouldn't have been. It's just a random freak thing and was incredibly frustrating, especially after last year. I mean, the third base job was clearly open for him to win last year. Like, it was very wide open. They had Charlie Culberson and Brock Holt. As much as I love the guys, they were holding down third base because they knew at some point Josh Jung is going to come up and be ready, and they thought it would be by the end of the last year. And I thought, why didn't he get some time last year? Well, AAA season and the Ranger season ended on the exact same date, so that's why he didn't get time there. But this year, out of camp, I thought he might make it. I thought he might knock Isaiah Kiner-Falefa off, but the Rangers said, oh, IKF's our everyday third baseman until they traded him. And then you thought, okay, there you go. There's the way that is paved for Josh Jung. Nope, labrum injury. And now he is heating up. When that injury first went down, the initial prognosis was he's probably going to be DHing for the rest of the year if he comes back at all. And if he does come back, he's going to start around mid-August. Well, it's August 10th, and he is already in AAA. He played a few games in the Arizona Complex League, played his first professional game at first base, and on August 1st, he was already playing third base. Very encouraging signs from him. But let's look at some of the other guys that he is competing with for that third base job, their pros and cons. Joshua H. Smith has played the most third base games for the Rangers this season. His glove, I believe, is the best of this group. He has some really quick twitch reactions. He's got, I believe, the strongest arm. Him and Ezekiel Duran are pretty close, but I think Smith's arm might be just a smidge better, a smidge stronger and more accurate than Ezekiel Duran. His plate approach is right on par in terms of his plate discipline, his ability to work deep counts and see a lot of pitches. That's right there on par with Josh Jung. and he's also really, really quick. I don't think he's the fastest straight line speed of these guys, but I do think quick twitch wise, he's a little bit quicker than Ezekiel Duran. His cons, he just does not have pop. He does not have a lot of power. I mean, he only has one home run at the big leagues this year, and it was hit 274 feet and was just misplayed and was very much the definition of a Little League home run. Don't let people tell you differently. It was still a Little League home run. It was not an over-the-fence home run. It was inside the Parker that was misplayed. Just because he wasn't given an error on it does not mean that it was the same as most inside the Parker home runs. I mean, there always has to be some little issue there. But the doubles have not really come from at the big league level. He's slugging 273. His batting average is 220. His on base is 331, which is solid, and that's the main reason he's there. And him seeing a lot of pitches does have a lot of underrated value that, you know, most people don't really appreciate. And that does have some legit value. That's why he's still playing every day. But there's a reason why he's hitting 8th and 9th or 7th sometimes in the lineup. Now, the next guy, Ezekiel Duran. His pros, he is the fastest of these guys. The straight line speed is just ridiculously fast. His Josh Smith's straight line speed, his sprint speed is in the 74th percentile of Major League Baseball, which is really good. But Ezekiel Duran is in the top 6% of Major League Baseball, the 94th percentile. His max exit velo is in the 60th percentile. And his raw power, I think, is better than both these guys. His ability to barrel baseballs. Everything that he hits hard when he hits it. The cons, his strikeout rate, he's going to strike out a lot more than either of these other guys. He's got a lot of swing and miss to his game. That's all right. That's who he is. He doesn't walk a whole lot. Both these other guys walk quite a bit. That's going to be a little frustrating, but the raw power is better than both of these other guys. And he doesn't have a whole lot of experience at third base. Duran has played 48 games at third base in his professional career. Josh Smith, through college and the pros, has played 131 games at third base. He has played more at shortstop, 223 games at shortstop for him. Now, let's look at Josh Jung, his pros. His overall offensive upside, I think, is the highest of this bunch. He's got, his raw power, I think, has always been underestimated. Ezekiel Duran's is, I would say, plus in terms of the raw power, how he plays in the game. Doesn't play up quite to that level at this point, although the major leagues is still a pretty aggressive assignment for him at this point in his career. Theoretically, you would think he would have gotten some more time at AAA, but he dominated there, and he just kind of needs to learn at the big leagues. But he is hung at the big leagues. He's had some big moments. But Josh Jung, his overall offensive upside kind of combines that raw power with the ridiculously advanced approach of Joshua H. Smith. He's got extremely plus makeup, which, you know, a lot of times is, you know, kind of coded of like, oh, I don't like this guy, or I just like the kid. No, part of it is that, and you might say that I'm biased, and, you know, why would you say that with my big Texas Tech hat and my Texas Tech flying tortilla shirt? That's part of it, but it also means that I've seen him more. I've seen him more than these other guys, even though I've seen both of them quite a bit at the big league level. This is a guy who eats, breathes, sleeps, dreams baseball. There is something of value to that. That is the one makeup concern positive review that really should be considered when evaluating kids. And it's something you can't really teach, and it's not the be all end all, but it is a huge plus for any kid. It is what takes people from hitting their ceiling. It's what lets people blow past their ceiling as a prospect. People had concerns about his ability to hit for power. He assuaged those concerns really quickly by dominating in AA and AAA. They didn't think that he was going to be able to field well, and, you know, that's one of his one big detractions, is that his glove is not great. It's fine. The arm is average-ish, but I have no doubt in my mind that he is going to work his freaking tail off. First off, he did that just to get back and healthy. Second off, he's going to do that to be serviceable, if not eventually above average. I'd say serviceable is about what you should hope for, what I think he can get to. The arm will play at third base. It's not Adrian Beltre's arm. It's not Joey Gallo's arm when he was playing third base, but it's still decent. It'll work. and he'll be serviceable there. But the offense is really darn good. You might think maybe he'll move to first base, but he's literally played one game at the position. He did not play there at all in college. I don't think he played there in high school. He might have played like 1 or 2 games there, but he literally has one game of first base experience in the last, 5-6 years? That's not a whole lot. I think he could do it. I think he'd be better than Nathaniel Lowe, but still. I think overall it's been Josh Jung's job to lose. The injuries have set him back a little bit. We've gotten to see what Josh Smith and Ezekiel Duran can do, but I think overall it is a very encouraging sign that Josh Smith is back where he is, and I am very much looking forward to seeing him at the big leagues. If injuries weren't the case, he'd already be an established big leaguer at this point in his second season, but that's not where life has taken him. He has worked hard, worked his butt off every single day, and I really do think that of these 3 guys, as much as I really like the other 2 in Josh Smith and Ezekiel Duran, that long term, Josh Smith is the third baseman for the Rangers of the future. That's going to do it for today's episode. I'm going to be out there tonight in Frisco. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rangers game against the Astros. I'm going to go to Frisco and see a rehabbing Fernando Tatis Jr. By the way, if you've got some free time this week, Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to be rehabbing in Frisco. So go out there and see him. Go see a big leaguer. Take your kids. He signed a crap ton of baseballs before and after the game last night. So that is a really, really cool thing for a big league megastar to do. And it's a really easy way, cheap way to go get a chance to see one of the best baseball players in the entire world. And, as much as I like Frisco's pitchers, he's probably going to hit some pretty far. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.